Minister, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time.
Thank you.
So first of all, you said in Moscow at the Energy Week that actually you'll go where OPEC says in terms of production.
Exactly.
Do you think that the group is going to need to make deeper cuts to prevent a surplus next year?
Well, you know, we can't see that far yet. I mean, definitely we have our next meeting in December. And that meeting we will decide. I mean, it will all depend on how things are going. You know, things cannot be predicted. We left in September, and then Saudi Arabia happened, and of course everything changed. But if we need to make deeper cuts in December, we'll make cuts.
And Minister, I understand that it's very difficult to predict, but you know, if you've spoken to the Saudi oil minister, you've spoken to the Russian oil minister, are they leaning towards more cuts?
Of course, everybody agree in OPEC that if we need to stabilize the market, we cannot allow prices to just plummet down. So if things are going southwards, we'll have to do some more cuts, and we're ready to make that sacrifice.
Okay, so the leading is towards stabilizing the market at any cost. Is that how you would describe it?
Not exactly, but of course, you know, as OPEC ministers, we also have to guarantee some margins for our investors.
Minister, what effects from the Saudi Arabia attacks are we feeling now still? So do you have customers that couldn't get supply from Saudi Arabia that are coming to you?
No, not at all. I think we are totally back now. I mean, the Saudis have put the attack behind them very quickly, and that was very commendable.
What's Nigeria's current production?
We do... year to date, 2.1 million barrels, crude and condensate. Crude oil only, we do about year to date 1.8 million barrels. But if you're looking at daily production, yesterday our production was 1.6 million barrels. Okay. Because the NCTL line is down.
Okay, so you're not producing more than those figures? If you look at some of the OPEC data, it suggests you're actually about, you know, 180,000 barrels.
Yeah, we had some overproduction in August, but we committed to cutting down, and we cut down in September, and we're going to fully comply in October.
In October and then November as well? So
from October we'll fully comply, and we are even going further than that. We're going to Gabon. And then we're also going to prevail on them, Gabon and South Sudan, to prevail on them to comply as well.
Minister, there's been a lot of talk of oil licensing and a new oil licensing round. Are you still going ahead with that?
Oh, yes. That's very much on the table for next year.
Next year, first quarter, and what kind of...
I can't say that yet, but it will be within next year, hopefully.
And is that to raise more revenue?
Yes, part of it, but also to expand the space in Nigeria. There has been no new bid round since 2007, and we think that it's due for us to have a bid round in Nigeria.
Do you know who are there people in or companies in lead positions, or how do you view it right now? Is it too early to talk about it, or do you still...
Well, it's too early to talk about it now. Yeah. Okay. It's too early.
Yeah. When will it be? Is it, you know, a couple of months before this licensing round actually goes ahead that we'll have more news on it?
Well, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, so I hope you'll come back on Bloomberg to talk about that. When you look at the outlook for oil prices, I know they're extremely difficult to predict, but what's your base case?
Well, it's really, like you said, it's so extremely difficult to predict, especially these days, because things happen and the market doesn't react usually. So we can't really, a lot of things are changing, but we believe that prices will remain where they are, at least basically, yeah.
So, you know, where they are now?
Where they are now, I think we will stabilize on that for a while. So, I believe so.
Also through 2020, you think? I know.
Well, 2020 is quite far for us to talk about. I mean, when we get there, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, we'll look at all the events, and then if we need to cut, we will cut. If we need to even produce more, we'll produce.
But what's your biggest concern right now? That the world is seeing a downturn and that could lead to a recession worldwide and therefore impact demand for oil?
Well, I can't say that now, but of course things are not, the outlook is not very good for next year because of all the geopolitical tensions and all the issues around the industry. But we believe that things overall will be stable.
Minister, what's your take on, given Nigeria's actually reliance on crude for revenue, how will these, this cuts impact Nigeria's ability to fund the budget, given some of the fiscal concerns?
Well, it's a balancing act. You have to balance between low oil price and then, of course, balance between higher prices. So for us, we have to look at what benefits us more. And we believe that when you cut and when the oil price at least is stable, then it helps us to predict better.
Minister, Ecuador has announced that it's leaving OPEC as of next year. A lot of the newest members have come from Africa. Are you reaching out to other countries to try and join the group? Yeah,
it's a sad thing that Ecuador left. I really believe that it would have been better for them to stay on. But of course, it's a national decision, and they've taken that decision. I can't really say so much about that, but we're getting a lot of approach from a lot of people approaching OPEC to also join. And of course, with our arrangement with OPEC Plus, we feel very comfortable.
And you're comfortable that that arrangement, OPEC Plus, will actually hold? I mean, something that, would have seemed difficult 10 years ago.
Well, we believe it will hold because, it's mutually beneficial to all of us, yeah.
And this is what, to counter shale production in the U.S.? What are the forces that have made this agreement possible and that have made it, to stay possible?
Well, yeah, U.S. production is also part of it, but we don't really see that as a threat because that's a flash in the pan. We believe that it has peaked. And we will only see the downward trends of U.S. production from now.
Minister, how's demand coming from some of the Asian customers? Is it strong, or should we worry about oil demand?
Well, it's still strong enough, but of course, with all the trade wars and so on, we're not getting, we're not seeing the same numbers as we saw before. But we still are very optimistic that things will work out very well next year.